In this edition of Southern Newsweek, warm weather drives people to take an early season dip at the beach. Lake Hawea landowner Matt Lauer is accused of inappropriate sexual behaviour. And Invercargill holds its annual gingerbread house competition. Hello, I'm Melissa Barton and welcome to Southern Newsweek. The recent hot weather across the south has some heading to the beach or to find the nearest body of water. It also caused false fire alarms, keeping Fire and Rescue New Zealand busy. Our reporters were out across the south.
Beginning in the beautiful south, the Invercargill City Council is reminding people to be mindful when using water as the weather becomes warmer. The mercury hit 24 degrees Celsius at Invercargill, and the council says there are no water restrictions in place just yet. In the middle of the island, the old wharf on the Wanaka lakefront became a prime spot for young people to launch themselves from during the heat of the day. The temperature of the lake has been rising steadily for weeks, with locals and tourists alike taking full advantage. It's only 3 weeks since the mountains around town looked like this, with a late fall of snow hardly seeming likely to herald an exceptionally warm pre-Christmas spell of weather. Wanaka tourist bosses are expecting record numbers of tourists over summer. On the east coast at Dunedin, some in town were loving the conditions.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's a cracker day for Dunedin. We're having a big stretch of it too, which is excellent.
While others were forced out into the heat of the day when the Civic Centre complex was evacuated as fire alarms sounded. The South Today understands liquid from an air conditioning unit was dropping onto sensors, triggering the alarm. Out at Dunedin's St Clair Beach, many people took advantage of the opportunity to walk, many of them with four-legged friends along the esplanade.
Well, it's been good for the past week or so, I suppose, and so yeah, but I think it's going to be a good summer.
Yeah, lovely weather here. I've just flown down from Wellington this morning, so great to be in Dunedin where it's stunning, feels like summer.
Oh, it's fantastic, and hopefully it's just the first day of many more to come.
The unofficial temperature at St Clair in Dunedin this afternoon was a pleasant 26 degrees, perfect weather for promenading with the pooch, hanging out at the cafes, or paddling out, ducking through waves, hunting for the big one. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Pupils from Invercargill's James Hargis College released salmon into the Oreti River today, after months of growing and caring for them. The school is one of 9 schools involved in the Fish in Schools program run by Fish and Game. Sharon Rees has more.
For months, these Year 9 and 10 James Hargis College pupils have been raising their own salmon for this very day. The pupils were given 30 salmon over earlier this year and were taught the necessary steps to keep them alive and healthy.
We get the fish from Fish and Game in about May of each year, and then the students are involved with setting up the tank, putting the eggs in, and we take care of them from egg through to hatching, through to swim up fry, and then finally releasing them in the last couple of weeks of term.
Williamson says the interactive learning is a great way to engage the pupils.
You can't all learn from reading, so they can actually see and feel, and today we're going to be doing water quality testing with Environment Southland, and the kids can actually see the impact that their actions and the actions of people in the community have on the water and why it's important to look after them.
Once the salmon were released, pupils were given a salmon anatomy lesson from Fish and Game Field Officer Cohen Stewart. He said the most challenging part of raising the salmon was the constant monitoring of the water quality, but that students were quick to learn if anything went wrong.
The kids are feeding the salmon a bit too much and not monitoring the water quality. Water quality drops in the tank and you start to get a few salmon turning belly up. So the kids quickly appreciate when they get a few salmon dying, hey, we've got to keep on top of this water quality.
Classes from James Hargis College have been participating in the program for the past 3 years, and Williamson says their first year release should be coming up to spawn this winter. Hunting and fishing in Invercargill has taken 6 of the salmon to grow in store and may be tagging them before their release, allowing the pupils to track them. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
The American news star fired by NBC for inappropriate sexual behaviour has not long passed New Zealand's good character test. Matt Lauer was dumped as a result of allegations by female colleagues, but the allegations appear to have come too late to affect his purchase of the lease of Hunter Valley Station next to Lake Hawea. Mike Price reports.
Hunter Valley Station on the shores of Lake Hawea. For a foreign investor to buy a piece of New Zealand real estate like this, they must be able to convince the government they are of good character. Hunter Valley's new American owner, Matt Lauer, appears to have passed the test. His purchase of the lease of the station was completed in February. Now his character is under serious question, accused of inappropriate sexual behaviour towards female colleagues and fired by NBC as a consequence. How all this might affect his ownership of the lease of Hunter Valley Station is unclear. In response to questions by the South Today, Overseas Investment Office Communication Account Manager Joanna Carr said the office was aware of the allegations against Lauer. We are discussing this with his representative and are seeking further information. A visit to Hunter Valley Station today showed money being spent there in accordance with other conditions of the purchase. 2 farm buildings are under construction and new notices about pest control are in place. Lauer and his wife Annette bought the lease of the government-owned station through their company Orange Lakes New Zealand Limited. What they paid has not yet been revealed. Lauer recently told American talk show host Jimmy Fallon what he thought of New Zealand.
You just got back from New Zealand.
I was there last week.
For fun?
I went for fun. I went with a buddy of mine. We went fishing. We went kind of off the... Have you ever been to New Zealand? It is the most sensational country on the planet, in my opinion. It's beautiful.
The rest of the interview is about toilets and Lauer's germ phobia. Lauer has been reported in the media elsewhere saying he and his family were looking forward to making a home in the Upper Clutha. Mark Price for the South Today.
A South Dunedin school opened its doors to the community last week for a concert where it was all on for young and old. Members of the Returned in Services Choir shared the stage with musicians from the school who were considerably younger.
Young and old were brought together in South Dunedin yesterday through music. The recently formed Bathgate Park School invited local rest home residents to watch a musical performance. Organiser Heliako Iahito says it's also a good opportunity to invite members of the community to spend time together.
So that's what the main purpose of that was, really just that part of our community is very important, just as much as this, our young people, to interact and meet, so what better way to do it with music and culture, So.
Iahito says the school has been preparing their performances as part of the term spent studying New Zealand music. They also were given the opportunity to form their own musical groups.
Yeah, so that preparation was a term just learning and trying to piece together a team, And then there was the other group, the Tawhaki band. They've been building their own repertoire, of community events as well, South D Festival and then the White Ribbon in the weekend and stuff like that. So, just our young people just sharing some music and learning.
It wasn't just the kids playing. The Outcasts, a subgroup of the Returned in Services Association Choir, also performed. Group leader David Coulter says they were grateful to be asked.
We've enjoyed very much, yes. Enjoyed listening and enjoyed performing.
Iahito says about 40 students took part, more than had ever been possible when they used to travel to the rest homes. The young musicians also received an important lesson when the power went out during one performance. The show must go on. Jack Conroy, The South Today.
Invercargill businesses have hit the kitchen last week to bake and decorate their own gingerbread houses for the annual Invercargill City Council competition. This year, as Sharon Rees reports, there's a bit of a local theme.
The Invercargill water tower has never looked so delicious. Dexter and Dax from Rockdale Park Kindergarten are reproducing a significant Invercargill building for the competition and decided to make Invercargill's most iconic building. The council has invited local businesses to enter a unique gingerbread design for the second year running.
We wanted something that would bring people into the CBD and create that sense of vibrancy and get the community really behind the Christmas spirit. There's so many cool, iconic buildings in Invercargill. It's just really nice to give those a chance to shine. Last year somebody did the pyramid at the museum, so I'll be really fascinated to see what comes in this year.
Some businesses, such as discount store Just Incredible, are using a template for their base and designing their own decorations, while Jack from Rockdale Kindergarten is modelling his after his father's own truck. At the Southern Institute of Technology, the Year 4 cookery students' designs include candy glass windows, with some even decorating the inside of the house. While across the road at the SIT Early Childhood Centre, The children have recreated their own kindergarten, playground included. Graeber says the standards of design have gone up a notch and the judges will have a hard time making a decision.
They're looking for creativity and innovation in how the design is done. They're looking for aspects of originality, and they're looking at also how much what is the ratio of gingerbread to actual structural support.
Entries close on Thursday and will be judged on Friday the 15th. That's if they make it that long without being eaten. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Coming up after the break, valuable records of Chinese gold miners find a safe haven in Dunedin, and Greymouth's new Christmas tree is built in time for its unveiling this weekend. Welcome back. Dunedin's Presbyterian Research Centre is to receive international recognition for its archives. The Knox College-based facility has been honoured for the valuable collection of historic records about Chinese gold miners who came to New Zealand.
This collection includes a Chinese notebook which was compiled by Presbyterian missionary Alexander Dong, detailing the lives of over 3,000 Chinese gold miners. It's been selected to enter the Memory of the World Trust register. Centre Director Jane Thompson says the documents are heavily detailed.
You know, right down to crime, good things, what they went off to do afterwards, when they went back to their families, whether they were married, had children. It's an amazing document.
After Dong died in the 1930s, he left the notebook, along with 30 diaries, to the church. Thompson says the history of the collection has been fraught with setbacks. 26 of the diaries were destroyed in a flash flood, and more misfortune was to come.
Unfortunately, somehow the notebook, although it did get sent here to this campus, to the Hewitson Library, at some time, I'm not sure quite when that was, it ended up in a pile of unwanted, unsaleable books and somehow got, there are various stories, so I'm not quite sure what happened, but it disappeared.
The book was later picked up by Dr. James Ning at a second-hand bookshop in the 1980s. Ning continued researching for the collection as part of his own Chinese history projects. A representative from his family will travel to Auckland alongside Thompson.
They were very excited. I think the next time that we saw Jim, Dr. Ning, he had a grin from ear to ear.
According to the Memory of the World Trust, items on the register should contribute to the story of the nation's history and reflect the identity of New Zealanders today. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Lilliput community libraries are popping up around Queenstown. Introduced a year ago, the tiny colourful outdoor boxes full of books are now in 4 places. Mina Amso took a look.
Users of the Queenstown Trail to Frankton will have noticed a brightly coloured box full of books. They are not just for looking at. Passers-by are invited to take a book or leave a book. This Lilliput library beside Villa del Lago is one of 4 Lilliput libraries across Queenstown.
So, in the library today we have quite a variety.
Kelvin Heights resident Kath Gilmore says this library gets a huge amount of traffic. She is the guardian of this library in Kelvin Heights and says she absolutely loves it.
We sit up above it and just have a cup of tea now and then and just hear people go past and they get really excited. It's a really good community hub, so we have lots of local families who just stop in and come by. Like one day, soon after we put it up actually, there were 3 families. I came down and 3 local families were hanging around and looking at it.
She says sometimes people drop off up to 6 books here and sometimes none are picked up for a whole week.
It's really good both for recycling, for education, for community, for all those things. We love it.
The books are free for anyone to take away.
So we keep an eye on what's in there. We've never had to censor for inappropriate material. Sometimes you have to swap a bit just to make sure there's a decent balance of books.
Gilmore says there are 14 more Lilliput libraries coming to the Queenstown area, including one in the Lake Hayes estate and one at the Sherwood Hotel. Others will be scattered across Arrowtown, Arthurs Point and other locations. The project started a year ago when Gilmore was inspired by Lilliput libraries in Dunedin. The libraries are constructed with sponsorship from local businesses. The project is organised by the Catalyst Trust and supported by Queenstown Lakes District Council Library. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Greymouth's new Christmas tree is expected to be ready in time for the opening of the new town square this weekend. The South Today took a look at the creation in progress.
Made of steel and over 6 metres tall, this metal tree will be planted on the grass area of Greymouth's Square in time for Christmas. Assembled by the engineering company Dispatch and Garlic, the futuristic styled sculpture will be equipped with internal lighting and a silver finish, with the total cost being $10,000. Engineer Craig McMillan said the construction was going well.
First up, there was a bit of the design process, going from sort of one thing to another and how that sort of normally goes on, and then we just got the bits sort of pre-cut over in Christchurch, and they turned up, and then they sort of go into our brake press, and we sort of tip and roll that for the curved parts, and then yeah, it's just a bit of a jigsaw piece really.
Greymouth Mayor Tony Cockshawn is looking forward to having the tree up and ready for the official opening of the town square in just over a week's time.
Well, it's on track for the opening of the 8th. We're going to do that the day before the opening, and Craig McMillan from Dispatch Engineering, he is actually building this tree out of metal, but it's got lights in underneath, and it will have all types of lights that will be lit up for Christmas. It's $10,000, but it's $10,000 well spent. Craig is a big part of the wearable arts. He's got a great reputation at the wearable arts. He's putting this tree together, so it's like a sculpture, and it will probably permanently stay there, but at Christmas we will light it up more so than what it does light up normally. So it's a great addition for the square, and it just gives that robust look to the square, makes it vibrant, and at the end of the day it's just a part of Greymouth that's being reinvented for the visitors and the residents alike.
This will be the first Christmas tree displayed in Greymouth CBD for about 30 years. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Damien van Brandenburg's 3D vision for Dunedin's waterfront is on public display at Toitu Otago Settlers Museum from tomorrow. The architect says it's an opportunity for the public to give their feedback on the proposed design.
An audacious multi-million-dollar Dunedin Harbour redevelopment plan was announced last month by the Dunedin City Council. Now the council and architect Damien van Brandenburg are opening up the vision to the scrutiny of the Dunedin public, with the 3D models on display at Toitu Settlers Museum.
To come in and have their say and discuss what they want to see happening down in the harbour side, and their opinion on what they think of this proposal and aspects that need to be considered further, and how we can develop this further for the community.
The 3D modelling has been years in the making. Van Brandenburg says despite big-scale plans not coming to fruition previously in Dunedin, he's confident he has the public's support.
What's very, very important is the Marine Research Centre, because we need to further studies into marine wildlife and how we can improve the population of the fish within the oceans, how we can clean up our harbour, clean up the Otago Peninsula, and really do our best to create the best natural environment.
Van Brandenburg says the proposal is less invasive than other proposals, low-rise and in keeping with the city. Public consultation is open until the end of February, and feedback can be provided at the museum or at Dunedin Harbour Vision on Facebook. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
Coming up after the break, rehearsals are underway in Mosgiel for a production of the play Bad Jelly the Witch, and Venture Southland is helping track the launch of Peter Beck's new rocket. Thanks for staying with Southern Newsweek. It was only a matter of time before one of Dunedin's road riding skateboarders impacted with a vehicle. A 20-year-old skateboarder was hurt when he collided with the van around midday on Tuesday. The skateboarder suffered moderate injuries after being hit at the intersection of Cumberland and Dundas Streets. Ambulance staff provided treatment at the scene and then transported the young man and his skateboard to the emergency department at Dunedin Hospital. The beloved children's classic, Bad Jelly the Witch, is this year's Tari Dramatic Society Christmas production. Filled with in-jokes for adults and Spike Milligan's offbeat sense of humour, the show has always played well with New Zealand audiences.
Tree, tree, 1, 2, 3, please grow very big for me.
For some, it wouldn't be Christmas without a production of the family favourite Bad Jelly the Witch. And no play by Spike Milligan of the Goons fame would be complete without a healthy dose of his classic wordplay.
Fiddle-diddle-dee, I'm a little flea. I ran up Daddy's trousers and bit him on the... I played Dingle Mouse, the sun, the dog, and Silly Sausage, the grasshopper. Sometimes I sort of just make it up on the spot if it's needed, but one of the parts I just go woof.
6 performers and director Brian McCormick are taking the most recent Tim Bray stage adaptation of the show to Mosgiel. It was first seen on the stage at the Pump House Theatre in Takapuna in 2010.
In a play I did at school, I was a child, and I feel like that really helped me develop being like childish, because she's like 5.
I can include a childlike flair in it, luckily. I heard chuckling behind me, can we stop that?
The ties to the show are particularly strong in New Zealand, where Bad Jelly had its first major success on morning radio, and a whole generation of Kiwi children grew up with Milligan's narration.
Yeah, my mum used to love listening to the Sunday mornings on the radio.
I can't say I personally had, but my mother had.
The play has been produced more than 100 times in New Zealand. It follows in the vein of classic fairy tales as young Tim and Rose are captured in the forest by the evil witch Bad Jelly and must make their way home with the help of characters like Sir No Bonk and King Twit. Bad Jelly the Witch will be staged at Mosgiel's Fire Station Theatre from December 9 to 16. Roselle Labone, The South Today.
Invercargill's Christmas Tree Festival is on again at Stadium Southland, and it's bigger than ever. 33 businesses have designed themed trees for the festival, hosted by the Waihopu City Lions Club. Sharon Rees has more.
From the traditional winter wonderland trees to Fulton Hogan's Roadworks tree, local businesses have been getting creative for this year's Christmas Tree Festival. The number of businesses to enter a design has doubled from last year, meaning the display has taken up much more room than expected.
Last year we had 15 trees upstairs in one of our lounges, and this year we've doubled in size. We can't believe we've doubled in size this year. We really made a big push on it this year, and we've had to go out onto 2 courts, so it's a bit of a Christmas spectacle in there as well.
She says the idea is for the public to vote for the 3 best trees, with proceeds going to charity.
The money on the door, when you walk in you get a wee token and you pop that in the box, and the tree with the most tokens wins half the money taken on the door, and then the other 2, second and third prize, win half of the other half.
She says Christmas comes as early as possible to ILT Stadium Southland, as General Manager Nigel Scout is a festive season fanatic.
As some of you may know, Nigel is a Christmas fanatic, so the foyer's done up, our offices are done up, we have Christmas music on from about probably July, so we go into full swing.
The festival is open to the public from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays, and the winning trees will be announced at the ILT Stadium Southland's Christmas Variety Show on December 22nd. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
A Southland organisation is helping with the launch of New Zealand's first orbital space vehicle. Venture Southland will be downloading important data from Rocket Lab's next rocket when it launches later this month. Sharon Rees has more.
Robin McNeil's job is simply rocket science. He's Venture Southland's head of engineering, in charge of the Awaroa Satellite Ground Station. The station will collect data from Rocket Lab's latest rocket, due to launch from the Mahia Peninsula in the North Island sometime over a 9-day period from Friday. The rocket will deploy satellites over Europe and will be visible to the northwest of Invercargill, heading south to begin its second orbit of the Earth.
They have to wait until the spacecraft comes back. The Earth's rotated a little bit, so they've no longer got visibility for Mahia and Chatham Islands, but we do. So we will point the antennas at the sky and get the data all the way down from the rocket as it goes over, and provides all the data of what it's been up to for the last half hour, and did it actually inject the spacecraft into the right orbit.
Venture Southland has been involved in space projects since 2008, when it played a similar role in the European Space Agency's Ariane 5 ATV launches. McNeil says the ground station, 11 kilometres out of Invercargill, is prime real estate to observe the spacecraft.
Being as far south in New Zealand as you can practically go with fibre optic cable connectivity and electricity, that makes us really valuable, because the closer you are to the South Pole, the more polar orbiting spacecraft you get to see.
Rocket Lab was founded by Invercargill-born Peter Beck. It attempted a similar launch in May, which failed to achieve orbit, but McNeil said the company will have covered all bases for its second attempt.
They had a telecommunications problem, though the rocket was all going, full systems were looking perfect, and they even did the stage 2 burn. So they were very close to orbiting, but this time I'm sure they'll make it.
McNeil said the mission, if successful, will be a big step towards New Zealand becoming a significant spacefaring nation. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
That's all for Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the South Today team, you can follow us on Facebook and at channel39.co.nz. I'm Melissa Barton, and thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.